guys.
What's up?
We're talking about sweets today.
A lot of questions about this type of stuff. A lot of misinformation.
And we had a lot of questions starting out too.
We really dug into this for you guys, like hours of research, a lot of research.
And there will be a blog post with all this information attached, linked below.
Dope infographic.
So don't get your notepad and pen out. Just relax, sit back.
What are we going to run through? Name them all first. Which ones are we running through? Okay, I don't know how to use Mac things. I touch the mouse and the entire screen minimized. That's what happens in Macs.
Okay, so we have 3 categories we're going to go through. There's artificial sweeteners.
1.
There's natural sweeteners.
Natties.
And then there's sugar alcohols. So for artificial sweeteners, there's aspartame, saccharin.
It's aspartame.
Is it aspartame?
Yeah.
Aspartame
We didn't go through the
cool.
We didn't research pronunciations.
Aspartame. That makes more sense.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it's spelled.
So there's aspartame, saccharin,
Asulfame, potassium.
and sucralose. Those are confusing names, but
Those are the big 4 artificial sweeteners. There's more. There's like probably 12 or something, but these are the big 4
that you'll come across. So aspartame, you'll see in form of equal. So it's like those little pink packets, right? Blue.
I think it's blue. Yeah, blue equal.
Yeah. And then saccharin is sweet and low. Those are the pink packets.
Yeah.
Asulfame is sunnit. I've actually never seen
heard
sunnit.
of it either. It's also added to a lot of stuff though.
Yeah, it's used in mixture with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Because it can be extremely bitter. And then the sucralose is the most commonly used in the form of Splenda. But Splenda isn't pure sucralose.
None of these are pure any of the sweeteners.
Right.
So yeah, those are the active ingredients in all of those sweeteners. We'll get into exactly what those particular artificial sweeteners break down, chemical components
like
of them.
the calories per gram, like the taste. There's a lot that goes into each of these that differ. So then
Natties.
Natural sweetness.
This is really like your best bet.
So there's stevia and monk fruit.
Yep.
We always have liquid stevia in our house. And then monk fruit is a fruit, so natural. Then sugar alcohols.
Newcomers on the scene.
Erythritol, xylitol, sorbitol, and maltitol. And those are the 4 big ones. There's a lot more. Yeah, there's a lot more, but those are the 4 big ones you'll most likely come across. You'll see on packaging. You're told to stay away from maltitol, for example. So yeah, so we're going to break down all of those 3 categories for you and give you the rundown, and then give you our rec and what we think is the best substitute sweetener.
Yes, let's do it. I did it again.
Use one finger, bro.
So, all right, guys, we'll start with aspartame. Probably the most controversial one, the one you've heard all of the boogie stories about. This is the most vilified and controversial of the bunch.
Some call it aspartame.
Pronunciation is also under dispute.
Up in the air.
Yeah. So its sweetness in relation to sugar is 180 times sweeter. That's the actual chemical aspartame. But if you're talking equal, which is the little powder packet that you replace sugar with in coffee and stuff, all of these things like equal, Splenda, sweet and low, those are all a carb, like a powdered carb source, usually maltodextrin or dextrin. Mm-hmm. And then it's just lightly coated with the sweetener. The actual sweetener used in Splenda is 0 calories, 0 glycemic index. But what they put the sweetener on, which is the powder crystal things, that's maltodextrin, which is very high glycemic index, like 100, higher than sugar. It's about almost as much calories as sugar. It's like 3.36 grams. 3.36 calories per gram. But if you get like a Diet Coke, for example, that just has aspartame on the back, it doesn't have equal, it doesn't have the maltodextrin in it, that is 0 carb, 0 glycemic index. So you're good on that. A lot of people are worried about drinking Diet Pop and stuff. That doesn't raise your insulin at all. 0 glycemic index. But the packets of sweetener, equal, sweet and low, Splenda, those have calories. Those have carbs.
Right.
Stay away for the most part.
So as Matt mentioned, aspartame is 180 times sweeter than sugar on its own. Saccharin is 300 times. It's a lot sweeter. Asulfame is 200 times sweeter. And sucralose is 600 times sweeter than sugar.
So basically what you're going to want to do if you're checking on your drinks, if you just see the artificial sweetener, sucralose, whatever, aspartame, you're good for the most part. Then also look to see if you find dextrin or maltodextrin. Those are the things that have carbs.
Carbs, right.
Usually if it's a liquid, they just put the sweetener in it.
Yeah, and this is something we'll touch on later. But the reason why they do mix it aside from how sweet it is because of like certain things like the bitter aftertaste. So they like can mask that by mixing it with something else.
Yeah, there's also some pops are not, or some sodas are not just the liquid artificial sweetener. A lot of them, I've seen some that have Splenda. Like they actually say like Pepsi with Splenda or whatever.
Yeah.
So those have carbs, those have calories. All of the artificial sweeteners are 0 glycemic index, 0 calorie. It's just hard. You can't obtain them in their pure form. You have to get them in the powder form, which has calories.
I mean, they're sold to like manufacturing companies in bulk, but you're not going to find it on the market. So all 4 of the artificial sweeteners, as mentioned before, they're made out of chemicals. So they're chemically like compounded by manufacturers in a lab. Some have been consumed for longer than others. So aspartame has been consumed by humans for 36 years. Saccharin has been around a lot longer, one of the longest, 120 years. Acesulfame, 25 years. And sucralose, 26 years. So for the most part, not around for that long of a time, which, kind of ties into how long they've been tested on humans and rats. All artificial sweeteners are highly controversial because a lot of the testing that's done, it's very, for like 25, 26 years, but also done on like lab rats and like animals as opposed to the humans. So it's like, it's really tough to say what these are going to do to our bodies long term. And that's where it gets a lot of gray area. Like the FDA is like, well, we can't tell you long term, but right now you're good to go.
Also, a lot of the studies are done by like
companies.
The sugar corporations and like the huge corporations that don't want them to become more accepted.
Right, exactly.
Natural sweeteners. This is the good stuff.
Yeah, so stevia, monk fruit, as we mentioned. So they're plant-based or fruit-based, which is really, really cool to know. Stevia is 300 times sweeter than sugar. And same with monk fruit. They're both 300 times sweeter.
They're basically the same.
0 calories per gram, 0 glycemic index. Pretty straightforward. Stevia, you get straight, like we have our liquid drops. Do you want to show them?
Liquid stevia. I'll link this below. This is one of our recommended things that you get if you want to have keto sweets.
And you're using like a couple drops in like a coffee. 1 or 2, 3. And then, it's really intense, so you only need very little, which is nice. You don't have to add a lot of sweetener.
This is good stuff. This is one of the ones we recommend.
We've had this for like 6 months almost.
And we make a lot of test recipes and stuff, and this was half full still.
Yeah.
This was $10, I think, maybe around that.
Yeah, and I use it for my coffee in the morning, so we're taking our time with that, which is nice.
Yeah, I would highly recommend this. Another good thing about these is that they've been tested on humans, or they've been consumed by humans for a super long time. Monk fruit, like 800 plus years in its concentrated form, 800 years, but like people have been eating, I forget the name of the fruit, it's like the Gion Hao plant or something.
Oh, yeah.
In China for like millions of years,
basically. It's been used for medicinal purposes in China.
Yeah.
Which goes to show it's not harmful for the body at all. In turn, it's the opposite. And then stevia's been around for like 300 plus years. Mm-hmm. So highly tested, highly known of like what they're made up of because they're just pure natural.
And neither of them have any reported adverse effects.
Yeah. So we would always recommend natural sweeteners, but monk fruit is extremely costly to obtain, difficult to obtain. So you're not going to see those around a lot at all.
You can get them on Amazon. They're just expensive.
Yeah.
I think you'll start seeing more monk fruit like this in this form in the coming couple of years probably, and it'll start getting cheaper. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Grab yourself one of those in liquid form. They also make them in powder form, and you have to check those because there's a lot of stevia products that are bulked with like maltodextrin and dextrin. But there's also a lot of stevia products that use erythritol as a bulking agent. And that's a really good way to go because what they do with those is they get the erythritol stevia mix to make it exactly as sweet as sugar and exactly the same volume. So you can just basically 1-to-1 replace sugar in recipes with that. We'll touch on that later though.
And moving on to our sugar alcohols.
New guys on the scene.
So there's xylitol, which you see in a lot of gums, like the sugar-free gums. Yep. Those are using xylitol. There's erythritol, which we have in our bag.
This is our other recommended, our second highest recommended probably. Actually, maybe even first.
I'm personally second.
Second? You like stevia better?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one we would recommend you guys pick up if you're into making keto sweets.
Yeah.
Amazon, this was 1 pound. Oh, this is 2.5 pounds, and I think it's $18 or so.
Yeah.
1 pound is about $9 you can get.
It is pricey, but it's nice but you can actually buy it as opposed to a lot, which you can't.
I'll link it below.
Then there's sorbitol, and then there's malitol. And malitol is in like those Russell Stover sugar-free candies, Atkin bars. You've heard a lot of horror stories, lots of diarrhea stories.
The villain of the sugar alcohol movie. The thing with sugar alcohols is that they have some glycemic impact and some caloric impact also. They're not just write-offs for the most part.
And they're not as intensely sweet.
Let's just go one by one. Xylitol.
It's just as sweet as sugar.
1-to-1 substitute.
But it has 2.4 calories per gram, and it has a 12 glycemic index.
Just for reference, sugar is 4 calories per gram, and xylitol is 2.4 calories per gram. So you're cutting off a little bit, but not a lot. Like you're still getting some carbs if you're using it to replace sugar.
Then there's erythritol, which we always have and do recommend. It's 0.7 times as sweet as sugar, 0.2 calories per gram, which is a pro in our mind given all the other sugar alcohols, and then only 1 glycemic index. So it's very, very low. Standout
star of the sugar alcohol family, in our opinion.
Absolutely.
A lot of people like xylitol because it has like some...
So does erythritol. The cooling effect?
Not the cooling effect, but xylitol actually has like dental benefits and stuff.
Yeah, so do all sugar alcohols. So because they're not actual sugars, they're not affecting the decaying in your teeth, so they don't like factor into that.
Okay.
So they all have that ability, which is nice.
So notice erythritol is significantly less sweet than sugar, 70%. That's why the combo with erythritol and stevia makes sense, because you add a couple drops to the erythritol, and then you're back to sugar.
Yeah, and that's when we cook and bake, we usually do find ourselves using both, which is nice.
Erythritol though, real quick.
Yeah.
0.2 calories per gram, and it doesn't get metabolized in the liver. It doesn't even make it to the liver apparently. It's pretty much as good as you can get for artificial sweeteners.
Yeah, none of the sugar alcohols. This is also why all of the sugar alcohols will give a slight laxative effect, some more than others, given how much you consume, but they don't get broken down in your body. It's not the best.
Ease yourself into them.
Yeah.
That's the FDA recommendation.
Yeah.
Ours too.
Then there's sorbitol, which is 0.6 times as sweet, 2.6 calories per gram, and only 4 glycemic index.
That's another thing. So when you see it's 2.6 calories per gram when sugar is 4, it's significantly better than sugar because of the glycemic index.
Right.
Because sugar is like 65, 70. Yeah, 65. So you're getting some calories and some carbs, but your insulin level is staying low.
Which is important.
The thing about sorbitol, though, is it's a lot less sweet than sugar. So if you're actually going to match the sweetness of sugar, you're going to be close to the calories of sugar, basically.
Yeah, because you're using more.
Yeah.
And then finally, the enemy of them all, malitol. The most severe laxative effects we've heard, and just like cramping, abdominal pain, and like gassiness. And we've felt those. We've eaten a couple more Russell Stover candies than we need to, and that's it. Like once we do it, I'm cutting it off. Like I'm never doing that again.
My current advice is don't eat malitol.
Yeah, I highly suggest that as well.
Yeah.
So 0.9 times as sweet as sugar. So like almost just right there. 2.1 calories per gram.
35 glycemic index.
So this is bad. This is a big no-no. So that's why we say stay away from it.
Yeah.
Don't even buy the candies. If you see them, walk straight past them. I know they're tempting.
Whenever you see the low-carb stuff, turn it around, check for malitol.
Yeah, because some of the candies say sweetened with stevia, but then they have malitol on the back, and it's mostly malitol, and that's how they get you. So even if it says with stevia, be checking.
Yeah, I'm not saying don't eat malitol because of the compound, like its effects on your body. It's just because of the glycemic impact, and it's basically close to sugar. All of these are naturally derived.
So most of these, xylitol, sorbitol, malitol have been around for 80 to 90 years, consumed by humans, and then erythritol. That's why Matt kept saying the new guy on the scene, has only been around for 30 years. Not heavily tested, but I feel like it's consumed a lot, and just like from most people's like consensus, it doesn't have that big of an effect on your body.
It's just there's no super long-term studies on the consumption of most of these other than the natural ones.
And none of these sugar alcohols are FDA approved.
They're on like the safe list though, like the
Are they?
Federally, they're just not FDA approved, but they're
right.
like...
They do give it should be consumed at this amount, but we don't approve it.
Generally considered safe. There's some other list that they're all on. So what's your overall takeaway?
So my takeaway is natural sweeteners is obviously the way to go. And I'm hoping monk fruit will be seen more and more. I'm excited to test around with that. That would be extremely fun. Yeah. But my personal go-to best definitely have in the house is stevia. No adverse effects on your body. It's been around for so long. Like everything just points to it as the number one for me.
So if you guys are new to sugar alcohols, ease into it definitely.
Yeah.
But I think our general recommendation is these two. You can pretty much get anything you want done with them.
Yeah, and you can get them. Okay, so erythritol you can't get in stores. I don't know if you can get. Oh, you can get stevia in stores.
Yeah.
But erythritol online, Amazon will link it. Stevia can be found in your grocery. They
also make these mixes with this as the bulking agent for this combined, like Swerve sweetener, which is really good if you want to, but then you're just confined to only a powdered sweetener. So I would say definitely get both of these and you have way more flexibility in your baking.
I'd agree.
Because sometimes you just want a couple drops of something. You don't want the bulking agent of the powder.
But yeah, when it comes to things that aren't regulated heavily, haven't been tested or not approved, it's just important to, try it in small batches to see how your body reacts.
Yeah.
Don't go heavy on the maltol.
Also, they might bring on cravings for sweets. That's the only downside.
That is a huge downside. So if you guys have any questions about any of these sugars, you're confused on what to use, you're looking for alternatives, definitely reach out, comment below, let us know what you use, what works best for you. And then if you share, your effects from a certain sugar, then other people can read it, and it helps each other out.
Yeah, share experiences.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, if you guys have any differing opinions on this, also, if you have like a study or something you want to link below, just...
And we recommend linking studies.
Yeah, just trying to find the right answer together as a team,
Yeah, these are our opinions, our recommendations, but if you know otherwise, then you're dead bent on something.